and we will be going over CSS selectors. It's very important for CSS and comes in very handy to know. So what we're going to do first off, okay, we're in the Selectors 3 folder on HTML. We will be using an external style sheet for our styling. Okay, we will be going over CSS selectors, which would be structural pseudo classes selectors. Okay, first child, first letter, first line, first of type, focus, last child, last of type, only child, only of type, hover, and marker is what we'll be going over and covering today. Without further ado, let's get the live server going. Let's knock this out the way. So we got our live server up. Alright, so I got some visual cues here so you can understand what each type is also. And also I got some typing out of the way to make it short as possible and also get the point across for you to learn. Okay, so the first thing we will be going over is the first child, which would be right here. Okay, don't forget all the code will be on GitHub and the link will be in the description also. So we have our first child, which is a pseudo class selector for a structural pseudo class selector. Okay, first child selects the first child regardless of type. Okay, so we have four div elements inside of a selection. Okay, so what we're doing is, you'll notice on each one will be a class name, and we're using this so it separates each one for us easily, so you don't really have to pay attention too much, but just in case you were wondering. And also right here, the classes is just to design the boxes, okay, to make it look appropriate, and also if you have the visual effects. So check out the style. We'll do our first child. Okay, so as you can see is our class, which is our section, which would be first child. Okay, which is our class selection, which is the whole thing. Okay, so we're selecting that section, and then we're using the first child, okay, which would be the first child of the elements. Okay, regardless of type, selects the first child. Okay, so the first child would be the first div element, because regardless of type, it don't matter if it was a paragraph or a header, it is the first child of section. Okay, so as you look right here, the first child is filled in with the color. Okay, so you can write this like this first child, or you might see it like this. Okay, and that would be the first section of it. Let's see what happens if we put a div. Well, that's weird, huh? Still the same thing. No, actually it's not, because you're still looking in section, and div is still, there's no child in div, so div will be the first child anyways. That's why usually you'll just see it like this instead, which would be the first highlighted. Okay, so we'll put that back. Okay. Now, get that out of there. There we go. Alright, so next on to the next one. Okay, which would be the first child in a list. Okay. So what we see here is we have two lists with 3 elements in each list, and we're gonna highlight the first child regardless of type. So that would be coffee in this element and coffee in this list. So we'll put a coffee 2, we'll put a T2, we'll put a, just so you can see it's different. T2 equal to, so just so you can see it's different, okay, no matter what it is, okay. We got an unordered list and an ordered list, and both childs are selected. Okay, so next on to the first letter. It will select the first letter of the P element. Okay. First letter. Here we go. So we target the section, which is first letter section. Okay. And it grabs the first letter of the P, which is paragraph. Okay. So as you can see, if you have 3 paragraphs, it will change the background color and the font size of the first letter as long as it's a paragraph. Okay. If it was a div, if this was 3 divs, this would say div here instead. You notice how it's not lit? Now watch if I put a div. Now all of a sudden the div's first letter is lit up. Okay? That's how you change the first letter, by a pseudo class. Now for the third one, it would be the first line. Selects the first line of the P elements. Okay, so what happens is it'll select all P elements, all, and change the background color of all paragraph elements, P elements, the first line. So target the section, first line, and we first line of paragraph, and we change it to aqua. So the first line, which would be here, selects the first line of the P element. P element, and it will highlight the first line with the aqua color. So next, first of type, selects the first of a specific type of an element. The first of a specific type of element, okay? So what would happen is, if we're asking to find the first specific type of the P element, we would return, the background color would change to this P element right here, which would be the first paragraph element in this section. Okay, we even have an ordered list in here also. So we got first of type right here. Okay, so the first of type paragraph, or paragraph, first of type. So we're looking at first of type of paragraph, and we change it to aqua. And as you can see, it'll be right here. And don't forget, if we're looking for first paragraph element, it would be a P here. If we're looking for the first div element, it would be a div here. Okay, so now we can look at focus. So what happens when we look at focus, we use a focus element, is we have 2 input elements. As you can see, they're not in focus because we're not clicked on them. As soon as we click on them, now it's yellow because it's in focus. We change the background color to yellow because after we clicked on it, it became in focus. Now we click on the other one and it turns yellow also, and the last one turns white again. This is focused. This is unfocused. Unfocused, focused. Okay. So what will happen is we gotta focus. So in our section, class focus, we will have our input. Okay, so we'll have to target input. So now we take focus and input and change the background color to yellow or whatever color, and once it's in focus it changes colors. So now we got last child. Select last child regardless of type. Here where it gets a little more tricky. Okay, so we're gonna select the P element. That's the last of its type. So last of type P element. Okay, so that's the last child. Oh, I missed one here. There we go. Sorry, last child. Select last child regardless of type. Last child, here we go. So we're gonna select the last child regardless of type. So no matter what type it is, the last child's background color will change to aqua. So let's take a look. Last child regardless of type. So we have 1 child, 2 child, 3 childs, 4 childs, 5 childs. So we have 5 childs in total. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Li is a child of UL. UL is the parent of Li. So it selects the last child regardless of type. So this is a child, 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 and child. UL is technically the last child. But wait, isn't Li the last child? Not technically. Technically, UL is the last child of section. Okay, the only difference is if this child is targeted, the Li will also change its color too, because it's inside the UL element. Unless we targeted Li specifically, then both of them will be lit up. If we target Li specifically, only Li will be lit up. Hope you understand that. Okay, you'll see a difference eventually. I will show you it here. So this is the last child, and it's highlighted. So last of type selects the last of specific type of element. Okay, so we're gonna take the last of type element. Last of type. So we're finding the last of type, which would be the last P element, and we're changing the background color to aqua. So we have an H4, a paragraph tag, an unordered list, and a paragraph. Okay, so if we're targeting a paragraph, our last paragraph of its type would be the last paragraph here, which would change its color. As you can see here, this is the last of the paragraph, last paragraph, so that color will be changed. Now, only child selects an element if it is the sole child and has no other siblings. Okay. So now what this will pick is it will select the sole child and has no other siblings. So yeah, only child. Okay, so only child. Okay, as you can see here, there is no child in H4, no child in paragraph, no child in paragraph, no child in this paragraph. The only one that has a child is this UL element, and the child would be Li. So it would highlight the only child that has no other siblings, which would be this Li, which would be right here. Now the only of type is almost the same thing. The only difference is it selects a specific type of an element if it is the sole child and has no other siblings. So it's a little bit more to it. So it will select a specific type of an element, okay? Which will look like this, okay? Now you notice right here, you only have this. Now you have to select a specific type, which would be the only of type Li that has a child with no other sibling. So it would highlight the same thing as the last one. Just the only difference is the only of type target it specifically. Okay? This one targets it specifically. Only child is a sole child and no other siblings. So now we have hover. Okay. So we have a couple elements here. So we got our link, and we got a paragraph tag, and we got some buttons. Okay. So as you can see, it's highlighting aqua when we hover over them. See how it's hovering? This is a hyperlink, paragraph, and a button. Hyperlink works. Nope, I didn't put it to anything. I'm sorry. My fault. It's just for purposes, for demonstration. So as you can see right here, we have our whoa. Why didn't that work? Why didn't the hyperlink work? Should work, no? That's a little odd, but alright. So, how we get the hover element to work is we go in our CSS, okay? So, we have a paragraph and we have an NA tag. So, to get our paragraph to highlight, we would use our P tag and then suit element hover. So, when it hovers, we'll change the background color to aqua. And for our A tag, we do the same thing. The only difference is we use an A tag in front of hover instead. Now, we want to do a hover for a button, say. We can target the button attribute or a class name. We're targeting the button tag because it's the only buttons on the screen. And when we hover over the button, it changes colors. And also, we can use marker. Okay. Marker will styles markers of list items. Okay. This would be a list item being an LI. List item. Unordered list. List item. Okay. So what happens is when we use marker, we can change these elements right here, as you can see in red, by using the pseudo class marker on those list marks. Okay. Now this one's just getting started. There's going to be a long list of CSS selectors, so I hope you're enjoying them. These come really in handy. This is the best thing to learn for CSS. It's up there along with grid and flexbox. Okay. So I suggest you to study them. There will be also cheat sheets for these, so you can take a look at them also. Thank you for taking a look. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you can learn a couple things. And thank you for taking a look. Newbie J out.